Hello, everyone, and welcome to the top 10. Peter, we start off the top 10 with a name that I think we both found tough to place, because you could make a case for not on the list, you could make a case for much higher. We'll get to that. I am talking about Paul Morphy, born in 1837 in New Orleans, Louisiana, and passes away in 1884, the age of 47. What are your feelings about Morphy?
I generally agree that he's incredibly hard to place, and I think putting him at number 10 is some kind of compromise. Well, you can say that he maybe has the most impressive peak ever in chess history, maybe only competing with Bobby Fischer's run for the world championship title, right? He's just so much better than everybody he gets to play. But he doesn't have any kind of longevity. I understand that, Sonas gives him 3 years and 3 months as world number one, but I think his career doesn't even last that long in a way. So he's very, very difficult to place. But compared to others from maybe earlier, who maybe also was the best at that time, we actually do have a number of games to judge him from. And I think we seem to agree that it is actually clear. He's just much, much better than people at his time, right?
Yeah, the level of play is what does it for me. I always struggle throughout this list with evaluating results from the 1800s, but Morphy, the way he handled especially the open games and the amount of things he seemed to get right or understand or feel about chess at that time when really no one else did, it's just a freaky thing, and how accurate he was to this day in open sharp positions.
Yeah, I think it was Fischer who said that he was one of the most accurate players at all and such. And I think Fischer also said that he was definitely in his top 10 of players of all time and such. So, no, I agree with these things. And that's, yeah. Well, you could also have him at number one for that sake, is what you're saying. Because if you have to look at who was the best players compared to his time, he gets very close to that, right? I don't know if he actually wins that competition, but it's close.
Yeah, it's very hard to argue because, there's a lot less documented competition. Of course, he scores very, very lowly in many other elements due to the fact that I think he more or less retires from chess at age 22, no? Like if we...
Yeah, he starts doing... he's a bit involved in the Civil War, and then he's doing a law practice that kind of fails, but somehow, he doesn't go back to chess, and they seem to indicate that he just... chess was not a profession and such, and I think he even meets Steinitz many years later, when Steinitz is in the US, but refuses to play or even talk with chess about him and such. So, he seems to get out of that, which is weird. It's puzzling you can become that strong and, still leave like that. But,
yeah, it's freak occurrence. We can briefly go over his life. So he's born into a wealthy family in New Orleans. The people say he learns chess from watching others play at the house, and then he starts correcting at a young age. At age 9, he's already understood as a chess prodigy. Age 12, he defeats this master who was in Löwenthal.
Löwenthal is in the States and plays, and somehow Löwenthal thinks it's a joke. He has to play this kid, but sort of realizes actually the guy is a very strong player and ends up losing to him 2.5 something. I think when sort of it becomes clear he's incredibly strong is this in 1857. I don't know, how old is he there?
There is like 20, I think. He finishes, he's always serious about his education. So in 1857, I think he finishes, sorry, I'm doing this from memory, but he finishes some sort of law studies, but he's too young to become a practitioner of the law. So he plays a bit chess to pass the time. And he just crushes everyone, no? Like he goes to this US Chess Congress, whatever it's called.
Yeah, he wins it. It's actually an interesting format because they have a knockout tournament, something that will only become popular 140 years later. But they have a knockout tournament, and he wins it very convincingly, and he ends up playing Louis Paulsen in the final, and I think he wins it with 5 wins and 1 loss, which is quite an incredible score against someone who is actually considered one of the best players in the world. Maybe even at some point he's number 1 in the world, I've forgotten. But well, Paulsen is considered a serious entity, and he just crushes him. And then, Morthy starts negotiating to get a match. I think they're in touch with Staunton, but have difficulties raising the money, or maybe Staunton sort of dodges the bullet a bit.
I don't think he has difficulty raising the money. I think it's a wealthy family, but he doesn't play for money on principle, and there's some talk who comes where. He ends up going to Europe, but the match against Staunton never quite materializes. No.
And then this match with Anderson happens, but it's actually about to get cancelled due to illness, and also that Morthy wants to go home, but he's basically sort of convinced him to playing, and he just he crushes Anderson, and as sort of we stated, that Anderson says that, just admits that, okay, he's just a considerably better player. There's nothing to debate there. And then, I think he's sort of a hero and goes around in Europe and plays casual games against a lot of people, and generally, he loses a game here and there, but generally has an overwhelming score and such. And as from what I can read, he's basically hailed as being the world champion, sort of in a way, but then disappears, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, even at that time, and he's 21. It seems like there's little debate, right? After this match with Anderson, he crushes Harvitz and whoever all these strong people were. It seems fairly.
That's also our impression. I mean, he would have beaten anybody at that point without any kind of doubt, right? So
no, from his games, I don't think there's any doubt. Of course, he excels in these E4, E5 positions, but it was, how well he played those given the times is just amazing.
It's puzzling how he became that strong, because it's not like he has faced any kind of serious competition in the States. That's actually a bit puzzling to me. But,
yes, there are these cases like Pillsbury, Morthy, Capablanca, where it's very hard. Good to name some.
To understand how
very hard to understand.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. And like with Fischer, which we will debate later and such, of course, he also, we don't have any downfall of him. We only have that he disappears. So that maybe also has a tendency to create this kind of myth. But, we are basically sort of giving the stamp of approval that we think, this myth is real. He was actually just very, very good.
Yeah. And once again, the placement, make your pick. I wouldn't be upset about way lower on the list, because I struggle with evaluating anybody from the 1800s, but I feel that he was so good that he sort of does belong in this company. He's obviously the only non-world champion in whatever. Spoiler alert, but fairly obvious.
Yeah. But he's just crushingly better than his time, and that counts for a lot. And he's so much better that it's simply because he doesn't stay around a lot that he's only number 10. Else he would have been higher, most likely. It's hard to see that he kept on playing, that he wouldn't keep on winning as well.
Let's have a look at one game. Maybe not his best game, but it has a flashy combination. And also it's sort of the making of his reign. It's this game where he has black pieces against Louis Paulsen in 1857, I believe, in New York City. Once again, it's 1857, not 1957. They play this 4 nights, still well-established opening, bishop to c5. Not the main move, but pretty reasonable, actually. I don't think it's considered bad. Even nowadays, there are these lines with knight takes e5. Yeah. But it's not a bad move by any stretch. Short castles, knight takes e5 plate. And Morthy, true to his style, he seeks activity, he goes rook to e8. I'm not sure what happens if you take d4, bishop d6, f4. It's some theory, I think. So he goes rook e8, knight takes c6, d takes c, bishop c4. Yeah, I'm not sure of the first moves. are ideal by either side here, to put it mildly. But it's surprising that such a strong player gets into such trouble.
In a way, right? I mean, he's given up a pawn, but actually Paulsen is strong enough not to take it and sort of give him a huge attack and such. So, but it doesn't look like an 1857 game. It could also just be Bundesliga from yesterday, as far as I see.
Yeah, no, I said that because this sequence actually, but maybe that's my Marshall Gambit eyes. This sequence looks weak to me. It's bishop f3 and c3, just allowing queen to d3. It feels pushy, or feels pushing your luck. If you want, start with c3 at least. But anyway, he does this, and Morthy, of course, seizes the chance to occupy this square. b4, a4. Paulsen is trying to free himself. And yeah, pieces get out. White is still fighting with his lack of coordination, but queen a6 looks like a good resource.
It is logical because, you have with a4, I think you force the destruction of black's queenside pawn structure. And then if you can release the d3 square and even get to play d4, you're positionally winning. I understand this is not going to happen, but I'm just saying that you can create a storyline where it actually makes sense.
Yeah. Also, you had to parry the checkmating threat.
Yeah. I was about to say, why not queen c2? But you saved me from that embarrassment.
Queen a6, this. Keeping an eye on this, but this position is, I guess, why this game is so famous. The following combination is beautiful and also correct, which is what you want. Queen takes f3, gives up the queen, gf, rook g6, king h1, bishop h3. Black only has a bishop for the queen, but it turns out that his attack, and it's sort of long-term, or there's many different elements, is just unstoppable.
Well, he's threatening mate in 2, right?
I understand, but the line is not exactly ending here. Like in the game, rook to d1 is played, which is not the most stubborn. But for example, after queen to d3, keeping an eye on this rook, the only way to win is actually to play pawn to f5, blocking this. Or the only way to...
I guess we should mention the principal line is rook g1. You just take and go rook e1 mate.
Yeah. So the black pieces are just overwhelmingly stronger. And yeah, Morthy's feel for what works, or his calculation ability, I don't know how you want to call it, his feel for the pieces is just so superior. Rook d1 is played in the game. But now, first this pawn gets taken, and then it turns out black has all the time in the world to just take on f2, threaten bishop g2, checkmate. There's still no proper defense. Or no defense whatsoever, really. Queen f1, the only way to prolong the game. But here, I can't count. Black is 2 pawns up and has way more active pieces, so it's pretty much game over. Rook a1, rook h6, d4, bishop e3. Finishing in style, because after takes, this is checkmate. So yeah, maybe not even his best game in terms of accuracy, but it's a fascinating combination.
His class is better than Paulsen in this game, right? And later we see his class is better than Andersen. And they are basically sort of considered the very best at the time. Maybe Staunton as well and such. But, Staunton doesn't crush Andersen and Paulsen to this degree at all, right?
No, Staunton at that time is also, I think, past his peak. But in general, whoever he plays, whoever he meets in Europe, he just destroys, no? So it's, yeah. He was special.
No, White's play looks a bit weak, but generally, when you look at Morthy's games, he just looks strong, right? And way ahead of his time, and that he somehow has managed to figure out on his own. So it's, that there is many chess fans who are in love with Morthy is understandable.
Yeah, his games, even nowadays, as a cynical modern player, I think there's a lot to learn about just, piece activity and checkmate and initiative from his games. It's very impressive.
yeah, great pity he didn't stay along and that he didn't face serious competition. Right? That would have been fun.
What can you do? So that's Mr. Morthy at number 10. Thanks for